हरिओम।
हरिओम सर।
हरिओम सर।
हरिओम।
भजन सुन के अच्छा लगा?
Is it Art of Living Bhajan, sir?
No, not a film. I'll share the link.
So generally, what happens? My laptop, this iPad is off, and the bhajan is going on, and so I'm doing something and something. So this time, I was attracted to come and sit.
We've played this before also.
Yeah, maybe I was.
I turned it on and I realized, oh, it's 12 minutes. I was like, "Chalo, theek hai, let's play it." देखिए आप इतने खुश हो गए भजन सुन के, एकदम एक एसोसिएशन है भजन से और गोविंद से। और जब मैं बोलने जा रहा हूँ तो I'm preparing you. I'm preparing you to listen to what I'm going to talk to you about. Because sometimes what we hear in the bhajan, what does the bhajan say? The bhajan says, ये सृष्टि आपने बनाई, ये दुनिया आपने बनाई, आपकी दुनिया है। और मैं बोल क्या रहा हूँ आपको कि भगवान ने ये सृष्टि नहीं बनाई, भगवान ने ये दुनिया नहीं बनाई। देखिए भगवान का एक सिंबोलिज्म है। सोशियोलॉजी में there's a term called anthropomorphic. Anthropomorphic means, I hope I'm getting the word right, means to make human like, right? When you make something more human like, it makes it relatable, it makes it something that is more easily understood, accepted, relatable. हमने भगवान को एंथ्रोपोमॉर्फिक बना दिया, भगवान को एक फॉर्म दे दिया। एंड ये लास्ट several hundred years there was no concept of seeing of course you had the symbolisms of Krishna and Rama and the avatars, but there was no concept of seeing say Shiva in a human form, seeing Vishnu in a human form, right? These are all evolving symbolisms as per the needs of the times, as per the needs of people, to make it more relatable. Earlier Shiva was just a shivling. Earlier the symbolism of Shiva, was just a shivling. I don't know what the symbolism of Vishnu was earlier, but
Shaligram.
Saligram Bhagwan. It was just was it more than just Saligram Bhagwan? I'm not sure. But you see the symbolisms have evolved over time to make it more anthropomorphic. And in the bhakti movement of the last 400-500 years, we've come up with so many beautiful bhajans. We made God one among us, to feel more connected, to feel more relied upon. See, एक सहारा मिलता है ऐसे भजन गा करके, like a सहारा मिलता है. And especially when a culture is going through a lot of turmoil, you need the sahara, right? So it's not surprising. It's not to say one is right and one is wrong. The reason I'm saying is because आप वेदांत का ये चैप्टर पढ़ोगे, आपको लगेगा यार ये तो एक चीज बोल रहा है, दूसरा चीज बोल रहा है. You have to understand the context of everything, right? जब आप एक बच्चे को कुछ समझाते हो जिसकी समझ थोड़ी लिमिटेड है, तो आप उसको you'll paint a rosy picture, you'll simplify it. हाँ, बच्चों के कार्टून्स में क्या होता है, बच्चों के टेक्स्ट बुक्स में क्या होता है? You show a sun, you suppose you show a landscape, उसमें क्या दिखाएंगे? सन की भी दो आंखें हैं, चांद is smiling. Is the moon actually smiling? You go to the moon and you'll see it's full of pimples. You see it on a telescope. Is the moon actually smiling? But to make it more relatable to the child, to give it a sense of relatability, to give it to make it more acceptable to the child. तो आपको जो
गुरु नानक ने कहा था कर्ता पुरुष, एक ओमकार सतनाम कर्ता पुरुष, मतलब भगवान का नाम था कर्ता, जो करने वाला है, लेकिन पुरुष मतलब पुरुष. तो उनकी व्याख्या ऐसे थी भगवान के बारे में.
करेक्ट. सो करने वाला पुरुष जो करके अपने आप को आगे बढ़ाए, भगवान एक स्थिति है, भगवान एक पर्सन नहीं है, right? This is one of the subtler messages of Vedanta. God is not a person. God is not a person that has created the world. God is not a person that has created the world. God is the state you reach once you wake up from the illusion of the world. Uh, you are God, and in your ignorance, you have created the world. God is not a person who is controlling karma and giving good results to good people and bad results to bad people. No, God is that state you reach when you transcend karma. God is not one who is with good and against bad. No, God is beyond good and bad. So different aspects of this philosophy, different aspects of these teachings appeal to different parts of you. They appeal to different people. देखिए, अगर कोई कोई जिसको वेदांत की बैकग्राउंड नहीं है, they'll find, even people who have studied this, we are finding it hard to perhaps comprehend or try to understand what is being said out here. Imagine someone who's never heard the subject of Vedanta, how difficult it'll be for them to even conceive this. In many religious traditions, what we are saying out here will be considered blasphemous. What do you mean God is not a person? It'll sound like you're stripping the powers of God, as it were. What do you mean God didn't create the world? What do you mean God doesn't control the world? Your mind creates the world. You are in a state of ignorance. You have lost your true identity. You have fallen into the state of delusion. Just as you trip upon a rope and you project a snake, similarly, you are projecting this world, this pluralistic world. It's an illusion. And to come out of this illusion is your ultimate purpose. That is what the great sages have told us. To wake up from this is the ultimate purpose. Imagine if you were just stuck in the dream and also concerned about your dream career, about your dream wealth, about your dream life, about your dream children. Imagine. That's us. We are stuck in this dream, going from one incarnation to another. See, these are analogies. Analogies have their limitation, but analogies also have to be understood. One dream is like one lifetime. One dream is like one lifetime. Today you'll dream, you'll project another dream world. May not be the same world, right? What you dreamt last night. It's another lifetime, as it were. In that dream, if I were to go, that dreamer, that dream identity would have a particular history, geography of himself and the world that they are occupying, of the dream world. But it's barely been 15 minutes. I might sound like a madman right now, but imagine if I took up the holy task of going into your dream. I'm taking all the aches and pains of entering your dream. I don't know why I'm entering your dream. God knows what all you're dreaming. I'm taking all the aches and pains and going to your dream and trying to convince you. Listen, stop being so worried, okay? I know Adani shares have fallen by 20%. Big deal. Big deal. See, isn't it a good thing I'm doing for them in the dream? You're telling me I'm such a noble. See, you'll tell me I'm such a noble person. I'm going and helping the person in the dream, helping them from their mental agony because they are imagining all these things. But to the dreamer, I'll sound like a madman. So the sages come to us and tell us all of this, and we are bewildered. We are almost. It's taken unless you feel uncomfortable with this idea, it means it quite hasn't hit you. I've been studying this knowledge for 15 years, it's still uncomfortable. That this solid seeming world is not what it seems to be. This solid seeming world is not what it seems to be. So we'll continue our discussion on the topic of illusions. So from a technical perspective, he was talking about the two kinds of illusions. It's a compound illusion. It's a extrinsic illusion within an intrinsic illusion. The intrinsic illusion, he gave the analogy of the rope and the snake. He said, when you stumble upon a rope in the dark, you walk into a dark room, there's a rope lying on the ground, you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you can't make sense of anything. It's pitch dark. Or you can hear everything, sorry. You can't see anything, it's pitch dark, you can't make sense of anything. You stumble upon the rope and immediately you get afraid. Oh my God, what was that? What was that? What was that? You project an imaginary snake. And with that projection comes all the fears and all the worries and all the stress. You shriek. You shriek. Try
सर जी,
Yes,
सर जी, मेरे ख्याल में जब when you are saying rope and snake, so the person knows snake also. So snake analogy is given. Supposing he doesn't know snake, he has not seen snake. You see, known to unknown, we are talking. तो उसको snake मालूम ही नहीं है, तो he will not be afraid.
No, fear of the unknown is the biggest fear.
या जैसे मौत
Fear of the unknown.
के बारे में किसी को मालूम नहीं है, किसी को भी नहीं मालूम कि
Sorry?
क्या है, पर सबको, everybody is afraid of मौत, मरने के लिए. The fear of death is the biggest
Again,
fear.
your point being that if they don't know what the snake is because they haven't experienced the snake, there won't
yeah.
be any fear. I'm saying that conclusion is wrong because the unknown is what you're most afraid of. If you actually don't know, if you don't know how to describe what you stumbled upon,
Yeah.
the unknown is
So
what
that
you.
is
So you stumble upon a rope, you project an imaginary snake. That's the intrinsic illusion. And the extrinsic illusion, remember, intrinsic is when you see the image but not the object. You see either the object or the image. If you're seeing the object, there's no illusion. If you're seeing the image, you don't see the object. So one of them appear at a time. And the extrinsic illusion is where the object, the medium of reflection, and the image, the object, the medium of reflection, and the image appear simultaneously. It's like reflection through a mirror. You, the mirror, and the image in the mirror, they appear simultaneously. So that's called an extrinsic illusion. Within this intrinsic illusion, there is also an extrinsic illusion. What is the extrinsic illusion? The object in the extrinsic illusion are the properties of the rope. The properties of the rope are, it is
long,
a couple of feet in length, it's long, it's few inches wide, so it's this sort of cylindrical thing, it's got a coarse texture. These are all the qualities of the rope. That is the object. The reflecting medium, the mirror in this case, is the snake. Because you have projected a snake, that becomes a reflection. And what is the image in this case? The qualities of the snake. The qualities of the snake also, as you describe it in the illusion, you describe it as, oh, it is long, it is a couple of inches thick, it's got a coarse texture, and then you imagine things further. Upon that reflection, you imagine things further, right? Because you're in a state of fear, delusion, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's like a concave mirror. It's not a straight mirror. It's like a concave mirror. It almost it reflects the object, but it also in somewhat transforms it into something. It's like a caricature. You know those concave mirrors or the convex mirrors. You stand in front of them. Suddenly you look very tall. Suddenly you look very short. So it's a caricature of. So it's an illusion of sorts, but it's a caricature illusion. So because of your state of being, you reflect these qualities, but you also exaggerate them, you expand them, it's transformed with your emotions as well. So that is the world. you see where there is Brahman, you see the world. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Brahman alone exists. Whereas that one reality, you are projecting a pluralistic phenomenon, an illusory pluralistic phenomenon. The technical terms used, the last time we were covering this portion, he used these terms, and you should become familiar with with these words. Brahman, the reality, exists everywhere at all times. Brahman is Atman, the supreme self. The ignorance of Brahman creates the ignorance of self. Projects the two illusions. The ignorance of Brahman, the ignorance of self, projects the two illusions. The non-apprehension of Brahman, the non-apprehension of self, causes the misapprehension of the world. Please, fancy terms, but they are not very complicated, okay? Non-apprehension means ignorance. Misapprehension means misunderstanding. Simple. Non-apprehend means to conceive or to see or to perceive, right? Apprehend it. So non-apprehension means ignorance of it. Misapprehension means misunderstanding, misconception, misunderstanding of it. The non-apprehension of self slash Brahman, the non-apprehension of the reality, the self, Brahman, God are all terms, they're all synonyms, used interchangeably. Aham Atma Gudakesha. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Aham Atma Gudakesha. I am the self in you. O Gudakesha, I am the self in you. Aham Atma. Sarva Bhutasta Yasthita. Sarva Bhutasta Yasthita. In all beings. I am the self in all beings. So I am not making this up. Huh? This is Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita saying, I am the Atman in you. Who are you, God? Arjuna asks, who are you? What is God? He says, Aham Atma Gudakesha. I am the self in all beings. It's like electricity flowing through the entire circuit. That part of the electricity flowing through the bulb. You are a bulb. You are a bulb in the circuit. There's electricity in the entire circuit. There's also electricity flowing through the bulb, which is not separate from the electricity in the entire circuit, which is not different, which is not divided or separated from it. It's very much electricity like the rest of the circuit, but because it is flowing through the bulb at that point, it is given a different name. That's it. Is there any difference between the electricity in the bulb and the electricity 2 meters away in the wire? It's indivisible. Atman, Brahman is indivisible. You'll see all these descriptive qualities in the Bhagavad Gita when the Lord is describing what is Brahman. It is indivisible. So you can't divide it. It's like space. You can't divide it. You can create walls, but space is one. The division of separations, it helps give different names. You divide a space, 300 square foot house, you divide a space by building walls. You call a space the kitchen, you call a space the bedroom, you call a space the dining room. You're giving it different names. And you're giving it different forms. Some places you are having a certain kind of architecture. Oh, come to my room. It's a very bohemian architecture. Oh, my drawing room is very oriental architecture. Nama Rupa. You're changing the roop and giving it a different name. But have you divided space? Break the walls. Imagine, you'll realize the space was never separate. So these are different names you're giving God, self, Brahman. It's one and the same. So the non-apprehension of this self in you, the non-apprehension of Brahman, ignorance of your true nature, ignorance of your real identity. In that ignorance, you project the false identity of this individuality. You project the world and the world that it experiences. So this waker and the waking world is a projection. This waker and the waking world is a projection upon the self. upon Brahman. You're watching a movie. In the movie, there are bombs falling. In the movie, there are bombs falling. Is anything happening to the screen? Arey, arey, look, the screen has torn because the bomb fell in that part of the screen. Anything happened to the screen? Suppose it's raining in the movie. Is part of the screen getting wet? Hmm. The screen is unaffected by the projection upon it. The self is unaffected by the projection upon it. You're going through a good life, good emotions, healthy body. Atman is unaffected. You're going through a terrible life, unhealthy body, unhealthy mind. Atman is unaffected. The Atman is the same in the self, in a saint. The Atman is the same in a sinner. The Atman is same in Modi ji. The Atman is same in.
So who is getting affected?
Good question. The ignorant individual is getting affected. So long as you are in ignorance, you are affected. See, think about it. Your own progression from childhood to adulthood is an example of that. So long as you were a child, immature, and with a very silly idea of the world, you were affected by anything and everything. 50 years back, the name of the child was still Yashu, no? It was still Yashu. But Yashu, in that state of ignorance as a child, was affected. Why? Because his brother stole his toys. Because he was 2 minutes late for school and he was afraid, oh my God, the world will come to an end. My teacher will punish me. I'll have to stand outside in class. I distinctly remember there was one day, I was sharing this story a couple of days ago. There was one day, we used to have, of course, school itself was traumatic in the beginning. I still remember the first day I went from nursery to KG. You know, the school timings change. Earlier, nursery is just a couple of hours. KG, you have to go early in the morning. And the building is also new. I remember how much I cried. I still recall that. So one day, my mother was very busy. She was working. So she used to send someone to get me from school. Pandeji. I still remember. I don't know what happened one day. Pandeji didn't show up. I think school used to get over at 12 o'clock or 12:40 or something like that. Everyone has come and gone. Initially, everyone's parents or other people were there, helpers there to pick them up. And slowly, the school became deserted. Then the senior school also had their sort of, we would call it home time. They had their time to leave because the day at school was over. Still, there was another surge of people around the school, and then they also vacated. Pin drop silence. Just me and the caretaker of the junior school building. I thought the world is coming to an end. I'm going to be lost forever. See, you're laughing right now. Look, you're laughing at my plight. How heartless are you? How heartless are you? And I'm saying this, you're laughing even more. But genuinely, see, I want you to appreciate, try to recall. I want you to appreciate it. I was genuinely traumatized. Genuinely. Forget childhood. 10 years ago, family problems you had, you were going through so much trouble, so much stress. Today, you look back and laugh at it. What was suffering? The ignorant person who didn't know how to deal with the situation, who didn't have a mature understanding of the world. That was suffering. So you suffer in ignorance. See, we're not blaming anyone. With all sympathy.
Like we all had ignorance about this COVID. We were all but traumatized.
Correct. So as you grow in understanding and maturity, the less and less affected you are, the less and less you suffer. So coming back, the non-apprehension of self causes the misapprehension of the world, the ignorance of the self, the ignorance of your true identity, the ignorance of you. In that ignorance of you, you have projected the waker and the waking world. Please understand this. I'm using this deliberately. You have projected the waker and the waking world. You are not the waker. The waker is a nama rupa. It's a name and a form that you have assumed temporarily. And the waking world that the waker experiences, this pluralistic phenomena. The the rope is the self, the snake is this Shrishti, which includes you, the waker, and the waking world, which includes the waker and the waking world. That's the intrinsic illusion. And what is the extrinsic illusion? Now, in this intrinsic illusion, within this intrinsic illusion, you reflect the properties of the self, you reflect the properties of Brahman in the world. What are the properties of Brahman? Brahman is infinite. Brahman is said to be infinite. That infinitude is reflected in the world in the form of time, space, and causation. In the very fabric of the world, it appears infinite. The world appears to have begun endlessly backwards. The world doesn't seem to have an end in sight. Okay, what will happen? The earth will get destroyed, okay? Let's talk about it. What will happen? Suppose there's a World War III. Oh, the world is coming to an end. Nothing will happen. You know what will happen? You and I will be extinct. Nothing more. All the worry is about you and I becoming extinct. Nature is more resilient. You want to see the resilience of nature? Go to Chernobyl. Go to Chernobyl. Go to any dilapidated place. See,
So why are we so obsessed with ourselves?
ask yourself. A spiritually evolved person is not self-obsessed. See, the more you evolve, the less self-obsessed you become. What is the meaning of unselfishness? Unselfishness is nothing but a slow reduction in self-obsession. What is selfishness? Me, I, my. Ask yourself that. Arre. See, the more you evolve, the less it becomes relatable also. When I still remember when Swamiji wrote the book um, on detachment, it's called The Holocaust of Attachment. And he said this to us. He said, writing this book was the most difficult. You may think writing about Atman, Brahman, writing about illusion, writing about causation, all these things will be difficult. He's like, no, that came easily. Writing about attachment was most difficult. And we asked him why. He said, because it's been a long time since I felt it. I don't remember the feeling of attachment. So those who have spent sufficient time on this journey, the feeling of suffering, the feeling of self-obsession feels less and less relatable. See, you are living in a last 20 years, you are living in a fancy 5-bedroom house. Maybe your 3 generations ago came from very humble beginnings. You can't relate to the life they had. You can't relate to it. It's been a long time. You can't relate to your own life 20 years ago, perhaps. Suppose I ask my father to go back and live in his childhood house. Not relatable, right? So it's not relatable. Why are people self-obsessed? I don't know. But they are. It's a It's the nature of the ego. It's called self-preservation.
We all fear death. That indeed means we are self-obsessed. We don't want to lose us.
Indeed, indeed. See, anything which doesn't have a foundation, it fears its own survival. Okay. Ego has no foundation. It's an ignorant projection. It has no foundation. It's always afraid of being wiped out. So, extrinsic illusion. The self is infinite, and you project this infinitude in the world. The world is the medium, and what's projected is the pluralistic phenomenon, the infinite seeming world. The world appears infinite, both in terms of its expanse in space-time causation, also in terms of its quantity. How many atoms are there? How many grains of sand are there? How many kilometers of space is there? How many cells are there in your body? How many kinds of creatures are there? How many kinds of beings are there? How many cockroaches exist in the world? It appears infinite. Pluralistic. That's what he means by pluralistic phenomenon. So the process of enlightenment, the process of spiritual growth, you slowly undo this pluralistic phenomenon. Where there is a multitude, you begin to see the unity, you begin to see the oneness, you recognize the oneness in all beings. So it goes to two stages. There are two stages of, say, self-realization or spiritual evolution. There are two distinct stages. One is called Savikalpa Samadhi and one is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So where do these terms come from? It's called Savikalpa Samadhi and it's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You must have heard of it maybe in some classes, some lectures, some bhajans also. So the earlier stage is called Savikalpa Samadhi. These two stages, the first is Savikalpa Samadhi and the second is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Savikalpa means partial realization. Partial realization. When you remove from this compound illusion, when you remove the extrinsic illusion, currently what are you experiencing? Because of the extrinsic illusion, you're experiencing a plurality, an infinitude. When you remove the extrinsic illusion, and what does it mean to remove the extrinsic illusion? When you remove the extrinsic illusion, it means that where there is a plurality of things and beings, where there is an infinite expanse, you recognize it is one God, one Brahman alone. It's divinity. When you begin to see divinity in all things and beings, when you see the splash of divinity percolated in everything and every being in every place and every time, at all times, that state, which a lot of bhaktas describe, what do they see? सब में भगवान दिखते हैं,
कण कण में भगवान,
कण कण में भगवान. That state, that very, very elevated state, still it is not complete realization. Interesting. It's a very high state. It's Savikalpa Samadhi. It's given a name Samadhi. Samadhi means, for all practical purposes, it means enlightenment. Samadhi. It's an extremely evolved state where this entire pluralistic world, where this entire illusory world is coalesced, condensed into one God, one Brahman, one divinity. But what happens? What exists? There's no divisions, there's no demarcations. There's a one God, but there is a duality. There is you and there is God. You see God, I see God. There is still the ignorance of your own identity. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is when you break that barrier as well. Complete realization. There is no intrinsic illusion either. There is no false projection of a sense of separation. There is no separation between you and divinity. So Vedanta takes the seeker beyond partial realization, overcoming the intrinsic illusion as well. In partial realization, the seeker sees duality. They've condensed the entire pluralistic world into divinity. They see God, kan kan mein Bhagwan dekhte hain. But there is still a sense of duality. There is you and there is God. You see God as separate from you. That also is illusory. That is an illusion. That's an intrinsic illusion. Why? Because you see yourself not as God. Where there is God, you see yourself. It's an intrinsic illusion. Brahman alone exists. Tattvamasi, that thou art. When you realize that, you become one with God. That ultimate intrinsic illusion also vanishes. So you realize that this Atman within is nothing but the one Brahman. That's complete enlightenment, absolute realization, total realization. It's difficult to digest. It's difficult to digest, but you are not, God did not create you. You are God. God did not create this world. This world is God. This world is God with a different orientation, with a different, seen from a different perspective, seen with a different lens, seen with an illusory lens. That's the topic that the next section will talk about. This world was not created by God. This world is God. You are not a creation of God. You are God. Tattvamasi. Prajnanam Brahma Tattvamasi. That's the ultimate message of the Upanishad. You are God.
जिसको आपने एक एग्जांपल दिया है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का एग्जांपल दिया है कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी को देख तो नहीं सकते हम, लेकिन महसूस तो कर सकते हैं। इसी तरह हम लोग अगर मटेरियली देखा जाए, जो हम जो मटेरियल के बने हुए हैं, वो वी आर मेड ऑफ एटम्स। उसके अंदर में जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं, प्रोटॉन्स हैं, वो किसी ताकत से घूम रहे हैं, तो वो हमारा कनेक्शन है। वो तो समझ में आता है मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में, लेकिन ये आत्म को समझना इतना आसान नहीं है। कि समझ में थोड़ा बहुत तो आता है, जैसे आप धुंधला से समझ में आता है कि कुछ तो है, लेकिन कुछ है क्या, समझना बहुत ही बहुत
It's like this, okay? It's like this. अभी किसी भी चीज को समझने में उसको इसकी गहराई में जाने के लिए बहुत परिश्रम करना पड़ता है, राइट? अब हम you and I talk like a lay person about electricity, but what exactly is electricity? Even physics, even a subject like physics, you need to study at least 5, 7, 10 years in depth to understand it in essence, right? So to get to the depth of anything, you require, you know, a sense of commitment. You require a lot of time. Is especially something inconceivable. This is inconceivable. ये हम एग्जाम्पल के द्वारा,
जन्म भी
एनालिसिस के
लग
द्वारा
सकते हैं।
समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, बट एट द सेम टाइम वी से दिस इज नॉट समथिंग दैट no example is perfect. It will not be. You'll always find some limitation in every example. So all of these are indications. We call them indications, right? To give you a sense. But nothing is possible without jumping into the depth of it. You have to jump into the deep side. If you truly want to understand what is being said out here, this text, this discussion right now is only to spark your curiosity. That's about it. If you think sitting in this classroom you will understand what is the illusion, sorry. इतना पैसा में इतना इच मिलेगा. हाँ?
बिल्कुल ठीक है, बिल्कुल
इतना
ठीक
पैसा में इतना इच मिलेगा.
है। करेक्ट।
Let's go for it. Not in the form of I don't want your money. I don't want your money, but you have to pay for it in the form of your effort, your commitment, your own sadhana, right? That way nature is perfect.
I just want to say something. I'm Mr. Seth's daughter.
Anji.
So I just heard about this Tattvamasi, and this is what was there in the you just shared. It is written as part of the Upanishad. But the sages who have experienced it,
Hmm.
but basically, I just want to. It's an extension of what you were saying only. Uh, जैसे मैंने अगर experience कर लिया, so will words be enough to share it with everybody? I mean कि मैंने experience कर लिया है.
You love your mother? Was that your
Yeah.
mother? Mother-in-law?
Huh? Sorry?
Your mother or mother-in-law with you right now?
My mother.
Mother. You love your mother?
Yeah.
Please express your love in 50 words.
It's a gamut of everything. Actions
No, no,
and
no, 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 no. Express your love in 50 words.
अभी बोलूं?
अभी भी बोलो, चंद अगली क्लास में बोल दो.
अच्छा, okay.
देखो आप ट्राई भी करोगे ना, फिर आपको लगेगा एक्चुअली परफेक्ट नहीं है. ठीक है,
Yeah.
if you have the art of writing, you can express something beautiful also, no doubt, especially if you're a
Yeah.
poet. See, to express anything subtle, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Okay. Something very, very gross, you may be able to explain. Something technical also, it's very difficult to explain.
Yeah.
Facility is also in the form of something technical. That is still not as hard. People think mathematics is hard. No, poetry is harder. Uh,
Yeah.
mathematics, it's a technical subject. Physics is a technical subject. To explain it, it takes effort.
Yeah.
Something subtler, emotions. Oof. Hmm. It's very difficult. Something even subtler, some kind of deep intellectual concept. It's very difficult to explain. So, um, it's close to impossible. But that is the incredible. See, गुरु के दो गुण दिए गए हैं उपनिषद में. गुरु के दो गुण दिए गए हैं उपनिषद में. जैसे शिष्य के तीन गुण हैं, गुरु के दो गुण हैं. गुरु इज वन हु हैज वॉक द पाथ. So he's, in that sense, attained enlightenment or is progressing towards enlightenment. To whatever extent you have progressed towards enlightenment, to that extent you are qualified to be a guru, right? And the second quality is they have the art of communication.
Guru has the art of communication.
That's what qualifies you to be a guru, right?
Okay.
Your ability to see, not everyone understands the same language. मैं किसी दूसरे ऑडियंस से बात करूंगा, मुझे दूसरे टोन में बात करना पड़ेगा,
Yeah.
यूज करने पड़ेंगे to make it more relatable. A guru is one who understands where the student is at and what will help perhaps the student understand.
Oh, okay. Got it.
If I'm not able to explain this to you, it is not the subject's fault. It is my limitation as a teacher, right? So a true guru is one who has the art of communication. They may, the idea is not to communicate something fully, because see, it's also about what you are able to accommodate.
Yeah.
Capacity is to carry 2 kilos, and I give you a 10 kilo weight. What will happen? You'll struggle.
Yeah.
We call it truth bombs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People like call it truth bombs. Guru can't give all truth bombs. The student will explode.
Yes. Yeah.
He's one who understands, okay, what bomb is appropriate. Sorry for this language, but what bomb is appropriate for what student? Uh, how much? And when the appropriate dosage is given, it's like a medicine, right? When the appropriate dosage is given, then you may not be 100% fit, but you come out with a sense of feeling more refreshed, more better, more healthy.
And also a sense of more of curiosity. मतलब to move on.
Exactly, exactly.
Do more.
So the guru's role is not to give you the whole truth at one go, please. And no guru can also, and no guru wants to also. As I said, इतना पैसा में इतना ही मिलेगा. आपको खुद, you want to know, you walk the path.
Yeah.
But their lived experience stands as a testimony.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, this is my biggest takeaway actually. Thank you.
So, again, not to say that you should blindly follow it, but for those who have some fundamental appreciation and understanding for what the subject is trying to say to us, right? The experience of the gurus, the experience of the sages stands as it's almost a sense of reassurance that um, this is attainable, this is not voodoo, this is someone's lived experience. So the gurus, those
शब्दों
who
की
are
लिमिटेशन तो होती ही है.
one second, let me finish. Those who are enlightened, their job is not to convey to you everything. Their job is to stand as a pillar of reassurance and inspiration.
Yeah, and they can't convey. It's just the experience will convey. They can't convey also everything in words.
Even if they can convey, you can't understand. Means also. See, it's like, how can you blame the student? Yeah, the teacher is teaching PhD level mathematics. The teacher is explaining PhD level mathematics. You're a kindergarten student. How you're blaming the teacher? A teacher can't convey. अरे,
नहीं, बट मुझे ये पूछना है कि जब गुरु ने एक्सपीरियंस किया था
जी
तो उन्होंने वर्ड से तो नहीं एक्सपीरियंस किया था ना, उनको अपना पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस ही हुआ था उनको, राइट?
हाँ 100% वो I mean words are, as I said, only an indication.
Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly.
But what is the subject telling us? The subject is telling us, and we've repeated this multiple times in this class also. Theories exist to pacify the mind. All these concepts, ideas, right, is only to give you some kind of mental framework so that you can be satiated. आपकी बुद्धि की भूख है ये,
Yes. True.
and उसको मैं थोड़ा satisfy कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है?
Yes.
Because ये भूख जो है वो कभी खत्म नहीं होगी, right? But जब आप थोड़ी satiated हो जाओगे and you tell yourself okay enough, then you become quieter. इस सारे कर्म भक्ति ज्ञान का परिणाम क्या है? आपको ध्यान के सीट पर कर्म भक्ति ज्ञान, the yogas is to help you reach dhyana yoga, the state of meditation. हम ये नहीं कहते मेडिटेशन करनी नहीं चाहिए. I'm saying we always say unprepared meditation is not a good thing. You have to pay your way through it. You have to work your way through karma bhakti jnana. And when you qualify, पूरी शिद्दत से आप कर्म भक्ति ज्ञान के अनुसार जीवन जियो, you will reach the state of meditativeness. You'll become a quieter person. You'll become yoga chitta vritti nirodha. ये जो चित्त की वृत्ति है, they'll become niroded.
Yes. True.
A foreigner once explained this verse in this form. Niroded. It'll become nirodha means destroyed. It'll become the constant disturbances and distractions and various undulations of the mind will just become quieter. You'll become meditative. In that depth of meditation, जब आप ध्यान में एकदम बस जाते हो, that's when you see. That's the experience of the sages. The experience is not words and concepts. That experience is the depth of meditation. Right?
Yeah.
हाँ जी, चेतना जी.
Thank you.
Hari Om, Utsav-ji. I'm very confused, but no fault, my kachapan. You said there is an
Let's share the blame, okay? Let's share the blame. My fault.
My fault. Actually, my fault.
No, but in all honesty, it is. But anyway, yes.
You said an intrinsic illusion is inside an extrinsic solution, or the other way around?
Solution नहीं है जी, illusion है.
Illusion.
कोई solution नहीं है. No. There is no intrinsic illusion inside extrinsic illusion or any such thing. Please first understand intrinsic illusion and understand extrinsic illusion, what those two kinds of illusions are.
I got that. When the in the intrinsic illusion, when we see the snake, we see the snake. The rope disappears. So when we apprehend one, the misapprehension goes away. That is the intrinsic
When
illusion.
you misapprehend the rope, when you do not apprehend the rope, you create the misapprehension of the snake.
So only one can exist.
Correct. That's the meaning of an intrinsic illusion.
And in the extrinsic illusion, you said all the like in the mirror, we see ourselves, the mirror, and the reflection. All three can coexist. Now, can you give an example of the world and we for an extrinsic illusion?
That's correct. That's exactly what he said. What is the extrinsic illusion in the case of our experience, right? See, in any illusion, there is an object, there is a reflecting medium, and there is a image, right? So what is the object? The object is the qualities of reality, the qualities of Brahman as such. What was the extrinsic illusion in the case of the analogy of the rope and snake? The qualities of the rope were mirrored by the illusory snake. What was the mirror in this case? The snake was the mirror. Why did the snake exist?
Ignorance.
Because of the intrinsic illusion, right? The snake exists because of the intrinsic illusion. That's the intrinsic illusion, right? Here we are talking about an extrinsic illusion within an intrinsic illusion. So what is the intrinsic illusion? Where there is rope, you're seeing a snake, right? So the snake is the illusion. It's as good as saying that. Where there is a stranger, you see your friend. The friend is the illusion, isn't it? Suppose you're in the market and you see something resembling your friend. Same height, same weight, same clothes, approximately, whatever. There's a stranger there, but you imagine it to be your friend. The friend is illusory, right? It's an intrinsic illusion. So where there is a rope, you project a snake. The snake is the intrinsic illusion. Now, because of that intrinsic illusion, that snake, that illusory snake, becomes the mirror for the extrinsic illusion. And what is the extrinsic illusion? The qualities of the rope, 6 feet long, few inches in diameter, coarse texture, that becomes the object. That is the object because that is what is, right? And the mirror is the illusory snake. Because you have projected a snake, these qualities are reflected as the qualities of the snake. Oh, the snake is very long. It seems very thick. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So the image is the qualities of the snake. Similarly, in the example of the world, the qualities of Brahman, the qualities of reality, the quality of the supreme reality is reflected by the world. The world is the mirror, the illusory world, just like the illusory snake. Why does the world exist? Because of the intrinsic illusion. The world is anything that is not you. That is not reality. So the illusory world reflects it as qualities of the world. So you see the qualities of Brahman, which is infinite, expressed through the mirror of the world as the qualities of the world, which are infinite time, infinite space, infinite causation, infinite quantities, infinite numbers of beings, infinite numbers of grains of sand. This world expresses as infinite. That infinitude is actually a borrowed quality. It's not an inherent quality. Just as the qualities of the snake were not inherent It's a borrowed quality from the rope, right? So there's an intrinsic illusion. You are ignorant of your true identity, you're ignorant of the self, you're ignorant of Brahman, and you project the waking world. That's the intrinsic illusion. And because of this waking world, that becomes a mirror for the qualities of Brahman to be reflected as the qualities of this world. This solid seeming world, imagine in the dream, the solid seeming world in the dream, which appeared infinite. In the dream world, if I entered your dream, you said it lasted for n number of years. It appeared infinite. How big is this dream world, Chitna ji? What do you mean, how big is this dream world? So far, humans have only reached the moon. We aspire to reach Mars, moon Mars. Dream Mars. And then we aspire, I mean, some of our, satellites have crossed the solar system, but that's about it. But the universe, the dream universe expands far beyond. All of that exists in your mind. It's a tiny fragment of your mind. The infinite seeming dream world is just 15 minutes long. Why? Because the infinitude of the dream world is not inherent to the dream. It is a borrowed quality. It's an extrinsic illusion.
Thank you.
The point of this is to tell you that gaant bandi hui hai. It's not so easy to just disentangle. It requires some effort to disentangle. And the process of disentangling this knot, in the process of this, first you reduce the pluralistic phenomenon into a duality. You see divinity everywhere. That helps overcome the extrinsic illusion, and ultimately, in complete enlightenment, you realize that this identity itself, this false identity of the waker itself, is an illusion. It is nothing but God. So from the duality disappears. The single unity of Brahman remains. That is enlightenment. That is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So coming back to the discussion on God, God is not the creator of the world. God is the world. And this is something we will take up in the next class. I'm glad you guys asked the questions, because it would have been a travesty to start this section with 5 minutes to go. So thank you for your questions. It's helped conclude the class at an appropriate time. We'll take up this section, World is God, in the next class, next Monday. You are free to read through. Go ahead and read this section so we can come prepared to perhaps understand it further. So we'll see you on Monday. Yeah. With that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you.